You know, there's a question floating around these days, one that would have sounded completely crazy just a few years ago. It's being asked by police, by politicians. Has Belgium, the very heart of Europe, actually become a narco-state?
And when you look at the headlines, you start to see why. We're talking shootings, grenade attacks. I mean, this is all happening in Belgium's biggest cities. And it's all being fueled by this massive 10 billion euro a year cocaine market. 100 different criminal gangs are fighting for a piece of that pie, right there on Belgian soil.
So, the big question is, how did this happen, right? How does a country famous for chocolate and, well, a lot of bureaucracy suddenly end up at the center of Europe's drug war? Okay, let's break down exactly how things got to this point.
All right, to really get what's going on in Belgium, we've got to zoom out a bit, because this whole story actually starts with a huge shift in the global cocaine trade.
So it really kicks off back in 2016. A peace deal in Colombia kind of shatters the old drug cartels, and that opens the door for all these new European traffickers to jump in and deal directly with smaller suppliers. At the same time, the old easy routes into Europe through Spain and Portugal, they started getting a lot more secure. So these traffickers had to find a new front door, and they found a perfect one: the massive and not so secure port of Antwerp.
And the result of that shift? An absolute tidal wave of drugs. Just last year, in 2023, authorities in Belgium seized 121 tons of cocaine. Let that sink in. That's a record, and it's double what they were seizing just 5 years ago. Okay, if that number doesn't sound wild enough, listen to this. That 121 tons, that's 76 tons more than the entire United States seized in the same period. The US has what, 30 times more people? It's just, the sheer volume of cocaine pouring into this one small country is completely off the charts. And you know what comes with that much cocaine and that much money? Violence. It's inevitable. This boom has kicked off a really brutal war for control. And the human cost? Well, it's been devastating. Just look at the numbers. It's a stark difference. In Brussels, the capital, fatal shootings have tripled in just 2 years. We went from 3 deaths in 2022 to 9 already in 2024. This isn't some slow creep. It's an explosion of deadly violence.
And this stuff is becoming just disturbingly normal. In Antwerp, you have gangs literally throwing grenades and setting fires to scare off their rivals. In Brussels, the police know of over 60 active gangs. It's gotten so out of hand that a former justice minister actually had to go into hiding because of threats and attacks. Think about that. A government minister.
And no, these aren't just a few random incidents. All this violence has pushed Belgium's homicide rate to 3rd highest in the entire EU. Only Latvia and Lithuania are worse. That single stat right there tells you this is a full-blown national crisis. So that really brings us to the core question. Why Belgium? What is it about this country that made it such an easy target for a criminal takeover? Well, it turns out it's a perfect storm of geography and some really deep systemic problems.
First up, you've got the Port of Antwerp. For a drug trafficker, it's pretty much perfect. You've got amazing connections to the rest of Europe by road, rail, everything. Then there's the sheer number of containers, millions of them, making it super easy to hide a shipment. But the real kicker, unlike other modern ports, it still uses a ton of manual labor, and that just creates a huge opportunity for bribery and corruption.
But it's not just about the port. The state itself is cracking under the pressure. We're seeing corruption in customs, in the police force, even among prison staff. On top of that, law enforcement is just totally underfunded. They don't have enough people. And then there's Belgium's famously complicated political system. It's so fragmented between different regions and languages that getting everyone to agree on a decisive plan is, well, it's nearly impossible.
If you want a perfect example of this fragmentation, just look at Brussels. The capital city, the capital of the EU, has 6 different independent police forces. 6, and they barely talk to each other. You can just imagine the gaps and loopholes that creates, and believe me, the criminals are more than happy to slip right through them.
So, with the crisis just spiraling out of control, the government is finally fighting back, declaring all-out war on the drug trade. But you have to ask, is it too little, too late? The new government has come in swinging with a zero-tolerance policy,
And one of their biggest moves? Finally merging those 6 separate police forces in Brussels into one unified command. The goal is to get that done by 2027, which would hopefully make a huge difference in how they can respond.
But here's the really worrying part. Even with this new crackdown, the violence is still getting worse. Get this, in just the first 4 months of this year, police arrested 131 people in the Antwerp port. That's already more than all of last year combined. So the criminal activity isn't slowing down, it's actually speeding up.
And all of this brings us right back to that terrifying question we started with. And the people on the front lines of this fight, they're sounding the alarm louder than ever.
Listen to this quote. It's from a senior judge in Antwerp, someone who sees this stuff every single day. They said Belgium is becoming a narco-state where police and the judiciary are powerless to protect citizens. When a judge uses the term narco-state, they mean the system is so rotten with drug money that the very institutions meant to protect you can't. That is an absolutely chilling warning. And it's not just judges. The public prosecutor in Brussels put it even more bluntly. Their assessment? Everyone in the city is at risk. That's not just about gangs fighting gangs anymore. That's a direct threat to everybody.
So where does that leave us? With the violence still climbing and the police stretched to their absolute limit, officials are now seriously talking about putting the army on the streets. I mean, just think about that. Is that really the only option left? And could a military deployment be the last line of defense before Belgium truly becomes a narco-state?